Today we're going to be looking at the European colonization. And the first country we're going to start with is England, because that's the country that settled the United States or North America. The first English settlement is going to be in Jamestown, Virginia in 1607. Now, England is going to come over here after Spain and Portuguese are going to settle South America. So that's why it's later in date. This is going to be their second attempt of a colony. The first one was not a success, and it's called the Lost Colony. But in 1607, the first successful one was going to be Jamestown. Later on, in 1620, the Pilgrims are going to land at Plymouth, Massachusetts. And this is where we get Thanksgiving. It's really based on the story of how the Pilgrims landed in Massachusetts. They had a hard time surviving, finding food, and the Native Americans came and they helped them, and they had a feast, a Thanksgiving feast. That's where we get Thanksgiving from, to be thankful for, you know, our different accomplishments, family. And then the colony is going to be focused really on religion. And it's going to be called English Puritans. And they're going to be Protestants that rejected the Church of England. They didn't like everything that was going on in the Church of England, and they wanted to purify the church, so they decided to leave and come to the New World and just start their own colony. And keep in mind, remember, England used to be a Catholic denomination, but then Henry VIII, the Tudor king, wanted a divorce from his wife, didn't get one, broke away from the Roman Catholic Church, is going to turn the country into a Protestant nation. So they're going to they wanted religious freedom. And a very significant paper was signed and created during this time. Right before they landed on the shore, they knew they needed to have some type of government in place so they wouldn't have any chaos. And it's called the Mayflower Compact. And it's actually going to establish self-government in the Americas. Although they were part of the royal crown, they left England. It's going to establish that they're going to govern themselves, and they're not going to have a monarch look over them. Also in your notes, it talks about how the 13 colonies was broken up into middle colonies, southern colonies, and your New England colonies. Right now, North Carolina is part of the southern colonies, and we'll look at a map to identify these three areas. But moving on, let's go to Spain. Spain is going to actually settle some areas of North America, like Florida. They still today have a high Hispanic population. South America and the Philippines. We already discussed this last week with our SAS activity. They stole and forced Native Americans to mine for gold, because remember the 3 G's, gold, glory, and God. While they were there, they spread disease, smallpox, knocking out 90% of the Indian population. Hernan Cortez, one of our explorers that we already looked at, he's going to conquer the Aztec Empire. So keep in mind, there were already civilizations in North and South America that were very well off. And matter of fact, the Aztecs were one of the most powerful empires at that time, and he's going to be able to conquer them and claim Mexico for Spain. Same thing with Francisco Pizarro. He defeated the Incas and was able to take over that land. Going down to Portugal, the second country that is in high demand during this time as far as exploring. Spain and Portugal are competing against each other. They're going to actually control the spice trade between Europe and Asia. And they're also going to settle the area of Brazil and South America. I told you last week in class how the sugar plantations were a very hard plantation work because it was high demand. They worked as slaves until they died. So honestly, if you look at the numbers, less slaves went to North America versus South America. And just Brazil alone, that country alone, 5 million Africans were sent to Brazil as forced labor. They also enslaved Native Americans at first, but that didn't work out. Because they were dying off from diseases. So that's why they went to Africans. The next European country we're going to look at is France, and they're going to come later too, just like the English, England. They're going to go above England instead of the Canada area, the Canadian area. That's why today people in Canada can speak French. And it's going to continue to go down to Louisiana area, but Napoleon is going to sell the Louisiana Purchase to us. You'll learn this in U.S. history. So that's why eventually Louisiana, Mississippi River, all that stuff will become part of the United States property. In 1608, their first settlement was in Quebec, and there was missionaries that tried to convert to Native Americans to Christianity. They tried to spread the Christian faith also. The Dutch, they're going to set up colonies around the world. The Dutch is going to be in competition against Portugal. In 1602, they became wealthy merchants, so they're going to take over, basically take over the competition from Portugal. They're going to become wealthy merchants. They're going to form the Dutch East India Company, and they're going to end up trading with China. They're going to have a monopoly, and just like the game of Monopoly, it's the complete control of trade. Only one person, and the goal of Monopoly is you bankrupt the other people, so you're the one person that's in charge. So they had a complete monopoly of the Spice Islands, and we're going to talk about this actually tomorrow when we look at Asian exploration. And they were very wealthy and powerful country in the 1600s. So they're going to bypass Portugal and become the leader in that area. And that's it for today's lecture. We'll spend more time in class looking at maps to know where these areas are at so you become familiar. And that's it.